This is part 2, episode 99. At this point, another 2 beams of golden light shone. Hui Yu Hao was eager as he turned his attention in that direction. Ah! 2 people fell from the sky screaming and crashed to the ground. The 2 of them were hugging one another. However, they rolled on the ground after crashing and seemed very disheveled. Hui Yu Hao was disappointed. These 2 weren't the ones he was waiting for. They were Ning Qian and Wu Feng. Ning Qian and Wu Feng were panting heavily, and took some time to catch their breath. When they saw everyone looking at them, they started to cheer at the same time. "We're alive. We aren't dead." As they cheered, they hugged each other tightly. They seemed to be delighted to be alive. 8 out of the earlier 13 had returned. What about the remaining 5? Just as Hui Yu Hao was thinking that, another 3 beams of golden light shone down simultaneously. The first person to appear was Bei Bei, who seemed to be in a daze. He seemed to be trying to recall something. Hui Yu Hao was stunned to see that Bei Bei was looking at him with a doubtful look in his eyes. The unfamiliar feeling in his eyes made it seem like he didn't know him. The other 2 who appeared with Bei Bei weren't Wang Dong'er and Wang Qiu'er. They were He Kaitu and Xiao Xiao. They also looked very weird. Xiao Xiao was sitting on He Kaitu's right shoulder, swinging her legs. She was smiling sweetly, and hugging He Kaitu's neck with her left hand. He Kaitu was also grinning ear to ear. They are all back and they are all fine. What about Dong'er and Qiu'er? Hui Yu Hao clenched his fists tightly. He was finally becoming a little anxious. Why aren't Dong'er and Qiu'er back? What has happened to them? No, they are fine. They won't meet with any problems. They are both so outstanding. No matter what situation they encounter, they should be able to deal with it. Hui Yu Hao was becoming more and more nervous. The more he cared, the less able he was to keep calm. A projection suddenly lit up, but no one returned. Instead, a strange light screen was presented in front of everyone. The light screen turned from ethereal to clear. Everyone saw an icy mountain peak in front of them. Dong'er, Qiu'er. Hui Yu Hao immediately noticed Wang Dong'er and Wang Qiu'er, who were both seated on this ice peak. Apart from the unconscious Zhu Lu, the rest were also drawn to this light screen. Bei Bei was also jolted out from his dazed state right now. He quickly hurried to Hui Yu Hao's side. He clapped Yu Hao's shoulder as he squatted down. "Little Junior, don't worry. They'll be fine." Hui Yu Hao didn't open his mouth. While he was a resilient person, how could he remain calm when Wang Dong'er was about to get into trouble? The more he cared, the more vexed he was. A voice came from the light screen. When Hui Yu Hao heard that voice and realized that only one of them could survive, he clenched his fists. If Bei Bei wasn't tightly holding onto his shoulder, he would have charged forward without any hesitation. "Calm down, Yu Hao. You must calm down and watch what happens. There must be a reason why we are being shown this." Hui Yu Hao took in a deep breath. He knew that Bei Bei was right. At such a time, being impulsive wasn't going to solve any problem. Wang Dong'er and Wang Qiu'er's voices were both audible. Everyone wore a weird look on their faces when they heard their conversation. Although many of them knew that things were ambiguous between Wang Qiu'er and Hui Yu Hao, they hadn't expected her feelings for Hui Yu Hao to be so intense. Even Wang Dong'er seemed to approve of her love towards Hui Yu Hao. In the light projection, their conversation. "Love is selfish and possessive. He died for you in his past life. The life that he has now was given to him by the yearning heartbroken grass that I plucked. He should belong to me. I love him. I really love him. Qiu'er, thank you. Thank you for letting Yu Hao survive. If not for you, he would have died for me. I can sense your love for him, it's very sincere. However, I have the same passion and love for him. You are right, or rather this yin-yang love querying valley is right. Of the 2 of us, only one can be together with him. No matter who wins or loses, I believe that we'll still treat him and love him well. Qiu'er, I only have one request. If you win, and if you can, please transform into me to continue loving him. I don't want him to mourn my death. Can you do so? My transformation is final. I can only do it once. Moreover, you are you, and I am me. You are Wang Donga, and I am Wang Chioa. I want him to love me. Then, if I die, don't tell him how I died. Just tell him that I went missing. In this way, he'll at least still find some repose in his heart. In the future days, you must love him and slowly transfer his love for me to you. What are you saying all this for? Are you trying to make my determination waver? Dream on. Everyone was stunned after hearing their conversation. Wang Chioa's looks were based on Wang Donga. Who is she, then? What final transformation? She can turn into a human. Even Elder Xian can't detect her transformation. What exactly is this? Hui Yuhao noticed something different from the rest. When he heard Wang Donga said, I only have one request. If you win, and if you can, please transform into me to continue loving him. I don't want him to mourn my death. Can you do so? His eyes immediately turned red. Donga, he shouted loudly. However, he couldn't influence what was going on in the projection. Bloody light scattered as Wang Chioa's spear stabbed into Wang Donga's arm. However, Wang Donga remained as calm as ever. Hui Yuhao shut his eyes in torment. He couldn't make himself watch their fight. Wang Donga was his lover. However, what about Wang Chioa? Wang Chioa said that she was the one who gave Hui Yuhao his current life. If not for her, he would have died in the icefire yin-yang well. Was he supposed to hate Wang Chioa for hurting Wang Donga? He couldn't possibly do so. Right now, he only felt that he was the one in the wrong. He didn't manage his relationships with Wang Donga and Wang Chioa well, which led to this current tragedy. What do I do? What do I do? I can't bear for either of them to be hurt. Tremendous booms sounded, and Hui Yuhao's fingernails had already pierced into his palm. Right now, he was feeling very conflicted and helpless. Yuhao, look. Hui Yuhao opened his eyes as Bei Bei shook him tremendously. He was stunned to find out that he had appeared in the projection. He had appeared in another projection above the ice peak. The bluish gold figure that he had fought earlier also appeared. Wasn't this the moment when he charged at that figure for the last time? Where are Chioa and Donga? They've stopped fighting, and they were suppressed by some kind of force. They must be very anxious because of me. In that light projection, the bluish gold figure was walking step by step towards him. There was a bright golden trident in his hand too. No. Wang Chioa and Wang Donga shouted at the same time. They both had a desperate look in their eyes. At this point, the projection paused, and the indifferent voice from earlier sounded once again. There's no conclusion from this duel between the two of you. Since this is the case, we'll use another method. Hui Yuhao is on the brink of death right now. He'll survive as long as one of you is willing to sacrifice your life for his. However, you must remember that he might end up with the other person if he survives and you die. This means that you might grant your love rival her wish if you sacrifice your life to save him. The two of you only have 3 seconds to decide. 3. Hui Yuhao couldn't help but shout in fury when he watched until here. Scoundrel! You can't do this. You can't do this. I'll die, let me die instead. He struggled to break free from Bei Bei's grasp, and crawled towards the projection in front of him. It was also at this point that it suddenly dissipated, turning into spots of light. A thick beam of light descended from the sky and landed not far away from him. Hui Yuhao opened his eyes wide to see who was in it. He saw 2 figures in it. Yes, there were 2 figures. However, they weren't standing side by side. One person was carrying the other person. Wang Chioa was the one standing. Wang Donga was peacefully lying in her arms. Hui Yuhao was stunned. At this moment, he had already focused his gaze. He opened his eyes wide, and couldn't believe the scene in front of him. Following this, he struggled to use his hands to support his body and crawl towards Wang Chioa with all his strength. Donga, Donga, Donga. How are you? Donga. Everyone else stood quietly at the side. At this moment, they didn't know how to comfort Hu Yuhao. Even though they could guess what had happened, they didn't want to believe it was the truth. Wang Chua also appeared to be in a daze, as she carried Wang Donga. Tears streamed down her cheeks and dripped onto Wang Donga's body. Finally, Hu Yuhao crawled over in front of her. He tugged at her pants and wanted to get up to see Wang Donga. Wang Chua squatted down and passed Wang Donga to Hu Yuhao. Right now, Wang Donga wasn't breathing. However, her eyes were wide open. Even though she was already dead, Hu Yuhao could still see the reluctance and yearning in her eyes. Donga, Donga, Hu Yuhao peered into the sky and wailed tragically. His hysterical voice echoed loudly in the air. Tears flowed down his face. He had broken down completely now. What happened? What happened after the projection disappeared? There's no conclusion from this duel between the two of you. Since this is the case, we'll use another method. Hu Yuhao is on the brink of death right now. He'll survive as long as one of you is willing to sacrifice your life for his. However, you must remember that he might end up with the other person if he survives and you die. This means that you might grant your love rival her wish if you sacrifice your life to save him. The two of you only have 3 seconds to decide. 3. Wang Chua was in a daze. She subconsciously looked at Wang Donga and was stunned. There was a pair of milky white hands that radiated fearlessness. There was a pair of eyes that yearned for life and love. There was a sorrow that carried a sense of reluctance. There was a natural stroke of decisiveness that gave no regard for anything else. There wasn't any hesitation. There was no delay or waiting. It was just for Hu Yuhao, so that he could escape danger a second earlier. Kai. Wang Dongas pressed her milky white hands against her forehead, and a blinding golden light shone. Her radiant butterfly goddess wings instantly changed into countless spots of light before dissipating. She wasn't looking at the sky, but at Wang Chua. There was a look of pleading and exultation in her eyes. There was also a strong look of reluctance. Donga. Wang Chua shouted, and she turned into a beam of flowing light before charging towards Wang Donga. She grabbed Donga before she collapsed to the ground. Wang Donga didn't hold back, as she attempted suicide. At this moment, there was no longer any vibrancy in her eyes. Blood oozed out from her pores too. However, there was also a tinge of satisfaction in her eyes even though she was reluctant. I have won. Tears flowed uncontrollably from Wang Chua's eyes at this moment. You've won. Yes. You've won. Donga, Donga, don't die, you. Wang Donga smiled, but didn't shut her eyes. She looked into the sky instead, at the figure that had retracted his golden trident. She also looked at Hu Yuhao, who still hadn't risen to his feet. The bluish-gold figure holding the trident seemed to be staring back at her. The light from his body dimmed, and he silently vanished from the sky. Wang Donga was trying to look at Hu Yuhao, even though she was slowly losing her life. However, she still couldn't bear to shut her eyes even as she was about to die. She still wanted to take a last look at Hu Yuhao. I really want to be your wife. I really want to be with you every moment. I really want to bear our kids. I really want to love you forever. I really want to. The shiny beads of tears in her eyes also seemed to turn powder blue as they streamed down Wang Donga's cheeks. Wang Chua was in a daze as she lifted Donga up. Her tears continuously fell onto Wang Donga's clothes. As she watched Wang Donga slowly lose her life, she knew that she had lost. You win. You love him more than me. You can be completely selfless for him. At that moment, I actually wished that you would die for him so that I could be with him. I don't feel maligned losing to you. However, why am I in so much pain? Donga, I should be the one who's dying. I've lost. I've really, completely lost this time. You died for him, and I can't bring myself to lie to him. I've lost, and you've won. He'll only love one person in his entire life. It'll never change. Boundless golden light descended from the sky and quickly engulfed them. In the next moment, the stars realigned and time was distorted. She won. She used her life to tell me that she loves you more than me. She won. Wang Chioa was smiling bitterly as she stood up. Her body trembled as she turned around and walked away step by step. She walked toward the boundless golden world. No one stopped her. No one could stop her. No one had expected that the person to perish in this yin-yang love-querying valley would eventually be Wang Donga. Hui Yuhao hugged Wang Donga's body tightly. He only felt that his heart had left with her. At this moment, the others were surrounding him. Bei Bei squatted down and softly clasped Hui Yuhao's shoulder. However, no one was able to say any comforting words. Xiao Xiao and Jiang Nan Nan were already crying miserably. Donga's dead. Donga's actually dead. She's dead because she wanted Yuhao to remain alive. Suddenly, Hui Yuhao lifted his head and opened his eyes wide. He shouted, "Donga isn't dead. Donga isn't dead. This is the yin-yang love-querying valley. You can revive her, right? Right?" Hui Yuhao looked into the sky. After this, he placed Wang Donga down beside him and crawled forward a bit before starting to kowtow. "Please, please, revive Donga. I'm willing to exchange my life and spirit for hers. Please." He was crying his guts out at this moment. In just a few kowtows, Hui Yuhao's forehead was already bruising and bleeding. Shu Sancha wanted to go forward to pull him up, but he was stopped by Bei Bei. Bei Bei knew that this was the only way in Hui Yuhao's eyes. The entire place suddenly lit up. Wang Chioa was dragged back by an irresistible force. Different streaks of light illuminated everyone's bodies, sealing them all. At this point, the indifferent voice that everyone was afraid of echoed forth. "Dai Huabin, have you realized what you truly want after going through so much?" Dai Huabin was stunned. He lifted his head into the sky and replied, "I just want to be with my Lulu. Nothing else matters." Zhulu's injuries left him grief-stricken. However, he felt that he was very fortunate as he looked at Hui Yuhao and Wang Donga. At least Zhulu was still alive. "You were drawn by beauty, but you managed to find yourself in the end. This shows that affection is important to you. You've passed your sincerity adventure round, and you'll be rewarded. Your reward will be a substitution of love. You can choose to move Zhulu's injuries to your own body to fully heal her. If you don't want to, you can choose to increase both yours and Zhulu's soul power by 5 ranks." After hearing the voice, Dai Huabin's eyes lit up. "I choose to accept the substitution of love. Please begin." After hearing until here, even Hui Yuhao lifted his head. He was surprised as he looked at Dai Huabin and Zhulu. Substitution of love. If there's such a thing, does it mean I can substitute my own life for Donga's? He suppressed his sorrow and hugged Wang Donga tightly as he watched Dai Huabin and Zhulu's bodies change. A streak of golden light flashed by and landed on their bodies. Something strange occurred instantly. Dai Huabin's right arm vanished like melting ice, while Zhulu's right arm was slowly growing out. She was also trembling slightly. Dai Huabin seemed to be in great pain, but he didn't even look at his right arm. He only grit his teeth and bore the pain. It wasn't just his right arm that was experiencing changes. His face was also experiencing changes. It was starting to rot. Dai Huabin lowered his head to look at Zhulu. Seeing that her injuries were slowly healing, the look in his eyes turned gentler even though he was perspiring from the intense pain. Suddenly, the golden lights that engulfed them became stronger before vanishing along with the two of them. "Shu Sancha, you are willing to give up your future as a soul master for love. It's very touching. You are also filled with kindness. You've passed your sincerity adventure round. I believe you've already obtained the best reward that you could possibly get." Shu Sanchi's gaze shifted away from Hui Yuhao and Wang Donga. He nodded and said, "Yes, I've obtained the best reward. I'll treasure Nan Nan in the future. Jiang Nan Nan, you've also rid yourself of the trauma in your heart. You are gentle and kind, but you couldn't fulfill your filial duties because of what happened to you. But Shu Sancha fulfilled them for you, and thus you've also passed. Compared to Shu Sanchi's complete awakening of his Xuanwu, your reward will be less grand. Your soul power will be increased to rank 60. You can go and find a suitable soul ring now. A huge beam of golden light descended from the sky and engulfed them. Jiang Nan Nan also lit up with white halos. As the light flashed, the two of them disappeared. Rewards. They all passed, and are being rewarded. The sorrow in Hui Yuhao's eyes slowly turned into hope. When will it be my turn? When will it be our turn? I don't want anything else, but to revive Donga, Zhong Lishuan, the voice said. Yes? Zhong Lishuan lifted her head to peer into the sky. There was a confused look in her eyes. Love is never a punishment. However, you'll only hurt yourself if you indulge in a love without an outcome. You'll also receive the best reward possible, an opportunity to forget. Go and find your true love. A golden light flashed, and Zhong Lishuan disappeared. Ning Tian, Wu Feng. Ning Tian and Wu Feng were standing side by side right now. They lifted their heads to look into the sky. Dying for love and walking away from the pain. The two of you have passed your sincerity adventure rounds. The reward that you are going to get is going to be quite heavy, thus the two of you will share one reward. This reward will solve all your problems. Ning Tian, you'll be a man from today onward. Go. Two beams of golden light shone at the same. Ning Tian and Wu Feng were shocked as they looked at each other before they were taken away. Ning Tian's familial pressure would be greatly alleviated if she were a man. In addition, the dilemma that she and Wu Feng faced in their relationship could also be resolved. After going through the 3 rounds, this was what she wanted too. Changing her gender was indeed the best way to solve the root of their problems. Bei Bei. If I'm going to get a reward, I want Xiao Ya. Bei Bei said eagerly. You barely passed your sincerity adventure round, as your lover isn't around. This was also the reason why it was easier for you to pass. You've already received your reward. Remember, there are clues in everything you've seen. You'll have 3 opportunities to release the final glow to inquire of other people. Go. Before Bei Bei could say anything, a golden light flashed, and he was dragged away and vanished. Everyone's situation was indeed different. At this point, the only people left were He Kai-tu, Xiao Xiao, Hui Yuhao, Wang Chua, and Wang Donga. Hui Yuhao pursed his lips tightly, and felt his forehead swelling. There were even some blood stains on his forehead. Considering how strong his body was, he must have kowtowed strongly. The voice echoed again, but it didn't call Hui Yuhao and Wang Donga. He Kai-tu, Xiao Xiao. He Kai-tu and Xiao Xiao looked into the sky at the same time. Xiao Xiao was holding onto He Kai-tu's arm. Even though they knew that they weren't going to be punished, Donga's death still left them very tense. In this valley, they simply could not control their own destiny. Revealing your true feelings in the face of a crisis. He Kai-tu, the release of the knot in your heart is your reward. Are you content? He Kai-tu nodded forcefully and replied, I am. However, can you revive Donga? The voice seemed to ignore his request. Xiao Xiao, you used your love to untie the knot in your lover's heart. You deserve to be rewarded. He Kai-tu, reveal your original appearance as Shu He. This will be the greatest reward for Xiao Xiao. At the same time, Xiao Xiao's soul power will be increased to rank 60. A beam of golden light descended from the sky and engulfed both of their bodies. He Kai-tu's appearance started to transform strangely. As his face contorted, he slowly turned into someone else. His skin was still tan, and he was still bald. However, he now had bushy eyebrows and huge eyes, and his overall look was very charming. This was the true He Kai-tu. He was actually Shu He, but he had used a secret technique of the previous dynasty to alter his appearance. Xiao Xiao was in a daze as she looked at He Kai-tu. She was a little stunned and asked, so you are actually this handsome? He Kai-tu laughed bitterly. In fact, I'd already forgotten how I looked. Since the knot in my heart has been untied, then let me regain my own appearance. It no longer matters if I'm recognized. I'll be me, and I'm Shu He. However, I'll always be your Hikaitu too. Xiao Xiao, I promise you that I won't hide anything from you from today on. Okay. Xiao Xiao nodded, but she was still a little worried when she looked at Hu Yuhao and Wang Donga. Among Shrek's 7 monsters, she shared the best relationship with Wang Donga. They had grown up together, and had been together ever since they entered Shrek Academy. They had gone through too many things together. She wasn't any less sad than Hu Yuhao over Wang Donga's death. Right now, she was still very sorrowful. However, both she and Hikaitu vanished as golden lights flashed, before she managed to make any requests. At this point, only Hu Yuhao, Wang Donga, and Wang Chua were left in this place. Wang Kia was still a little stunned. Her eyes were lifeless, as if she had lost her spirit. Hu Yuhao's forehead was bruised, and he was shuddering slightly. This was a testament to how tense he felt right now. Hu Yuhao, Wang Donga, Wang Chua. Your 3 fates are closely interlinked. However, true love is always mutual, and it can only be between 2 parties. That's why only 2 of you can get together eventually. Wang Donga is already dead. Hu Yuhao, are you willing to give your love to Wang Chua and love her properly in the future? No, I'm not. I only want Donga to be revived. Please revive Donga. No matter what you do to me, I hope you can revive Donga. Hu Yuhao's voice was still trembling. He was sobbing heavily, and tears flowed down his face uncontrollably. The death of one person is a win-win situation for all 3 of you. At least one person will be spared the pain. Isn't this good? Don't be obstinate. The indifferent voice sounded a little angry. No, it's not good at all. I only want Donga, and I only love her. If you are unwilling to revive her, then kill me too. Even if I go to another world, I want to be with her. I don't ever want to separate from her. Hu Yuhao hugged Wang Donga tightly and stuck his face close to hers. He already seemed to be very dazed as his tears fell onto Wang Donga's cheeks. At this point, the fear and sorrow in his heart slowly diminished. If Wang Donga was dead, he would choose to die. If Wang Donga was alive, he would remain alive. While this yin-yang love querying valley could decide a person's fate, there wasn't much for him to be worried about after Wang Donga's death, since his heart had already died with her. Wang Chua suddenly lifted her head and shouted, I'm the one who should be dead. Let me die in exchange for Donga's life. In this way, they can be together. I shouldn't have appeared in their lives. I affected them. Just let me die. Let me die. The indifferent voice went silent. It seemed to be thinking, or rather, hesitating. Hu Yuhao lifted his head to look at Wang Chua. He took in a deep breath and shook his head slightly. He said, No, Chua, you didn't do anything wrong. You never did anything wrong at all. I was the one in the wrong. I hurt both you and Donga. Now that things have come to this stage, you must live well. Yin-Yang love querying valley. Does it mean that we are all entitled to a reward since we've reached this stage? That's right. However, the dead person will not be rewarded. The Yin-Yang love querying valley answered. Hu Yuhao nodded and said, All right. I shall not plead for you to revive Donga. Instead, I hope that you can make Chua forget me and everything that happened between the 3 of us. Can you do that? After that, let us leave this place. Forgetting everything might be a good thing at times. However, are you willing, Wang Chua? Wang Chua shook her head with strength and replied, No, I don't want to forget. I would rather bear this pain than forget this experience. This is the most painful yet unforgettable memory of my life. Whether I'm dead or alive, I want to preserve this memory. Don't take it away. Arth, there will never be happiness in a love triangle. All right, I'll grant both of your wishes, since this is the case. A beam of golden light descended from the sky and shone on Wang Chua's body first. In the next moment, she had already vanished. Following this, another beam of white light shone on Wang Donga's body. Hu Yuhao could clearly sense the warmth from this beam of white light. Wang Donga sacrificed herself for love. Her utterly fearless spirit is commendable. I'll revive her. However, you must remember today's lesson and hold fast to your words, Hu Yuhao. Otherwise, you'll face tougher tests in the future. You'll need to be even tougher than this. Do you understand? After hearing that the love-querying valley was willing to revive Donga, Hu Yuhao was suddenly full of energy. He started to become very excited, and nodded his head desperately. His tears immediately stopped flowing. Death is sometimes not scary. The path that you're going to take is destined to be tough. Do your best. Wang Donga's rigid body slowly became softer. Her complexion slowly regained its color too, and her chest also started to rise and fall. Her life energy was restored under the nourishment of that beam of white light. Hu Yuhao only felt that he had never felt so weak before. Wang Donga's death to her resurrection tortured him more than the 3 tests he had had to go through earlier. Seeing that Wang Donga was slowly recovering, he hugged her body as if he were holding a treasure. He was choking with his sobs. After a brief moment, Wang Donga's breathing became normal again, and her face regained its rosy color. Alive, my Donga is alive. Hu Yuhao finally smiled. At this moment, he only felt that Wang Donga was the most beautiful thing in this world. The indifferent voice suddenly sighed. At this moment, it seemed to become slightly more emotional. Hu Yuhao had been in a very tense state for a long time. After hearing this sigh, he reacted quickly and blurted out, "What's wrong?" "There's a problem with Wang Donga's resurrection." The voice sounded even more helpless. Part 2 end here.